Every nation on Earth is in debt. The United States owes a historic $38 trillion. The European Union carries $14 trillion. Japan owes $9 trillion. Even wealthy nations like Saudi Arabia or economic powerhouses like Germany and China all owe immense sums. This raises a puzzling question. If everyone is in debt, who exactly is the creditor? Where is all this money going? The answer is far stranger than you might think. Debt isn't simply a burden. It is the invisible foundation of the modern world. Every conflict, every crisis, every period of growth and recession unfolds upon this structure of obligations. And if you trace the chain of lenders far enough, a bizarre reality emerges. The world doesn't owe money to an external party. It owes it to itself. But the benefits of this system are far from equal. Today, total global debt exceeds $315 trillion. That's nearly 3 times the size of the entire world economy. To understand this, we have to look back centuries, because the concept of national debt wasn't born in a finance hub, but on the battlefield. In 1694, England was fighting a costly war against France and was running out of gold. So, the king turned to a group of wealthy merchants for a loan. In exchange for a reliable stream of future interest payments, funded by taxes, they financed the crown. To manage this new arrangement, the Bank of England was created. This was revolutionary. For the first time, a state could spend money it didn't have. Lenders received a government promise, a piece of paper that could be traded and sold like an asset. This was the birth of the government bond, the seed of modern finance. Soon, France, the Netherlands, and the newly independent United States all adopted the model. Debt was no longer a mark of failure. It became a mark of credibility. The power to borrow became the power to rule. Fast forward to today, and debt is now the world's dominant export. Global borrowing grows by roughly $1 trillion every 100 days. Every nation owes, every bank lends, and every citizen, through their taxes, savings, and pensions, is both a debtor and a creditor. So, who actually holds all this debt? Let's take the United States. Of its $38 trillion debt, about half is owed to other government branches. The other half is publicly held, meaning it's owed to investors. Now, here's the surprising part. Roughly 2/3 of those investors are American. We're talking about American banks, pension funds, mutual funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve itself. The remaining third, about $9 trillion, is held overseas. Japan is the largest foreign holder with about $1 trillion, followed by China with around $800 billion, then the UK, Luxembourg, and Belgium. So, while you often hear about how much the US owes China, it's only about 2% of the total. The reality is, most American debt is owed to Americans. The Treasury issues bonds, American institutions buy them, and American taxes pay the interest that flows right back into American retirement accounts. It's a huge, circular, self-referential system. This circularity is global. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations via the World Bank, and those nations often lend back to advanced economies by holding their bonds as financial reserves. It's a planetary cycle where every country holds another's IOU, and each promise is backed by another promise. But the most powerful layer of this system is the market itself. Behind every government bond is a vast web of institutions: hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and central banks. They are the true judges of credit, deciding which nations can borrow cheaply and which must pay a crippling premium. When their confidence fades, currencies can collapse and governments can fall overnight. In this system, democracy may choose the leaders, but it's the markets that decide which economies get to survive. The high priests of this system are the central banks. They don't just manage debt, they create it. When a central bank like the Federal Reserve or the European Central Bank buys government bonds, it effectively creates new money out of thin air to do so. This means every dollar in circulation is matched by a unit of debt somewhere else on a balance sheet. There is no such thing as debt-free money. For decades, this loop has been sustained by one simple thing: confidence. Investors believe that governments will always pay their interest, so the machine keeps turning. But when that confidence wavers, the system cracks. We saw it happen in Greece in 2010, in Argentina repeatedly, and in Sri Lanka in 2022. Suddenly, the creditors become very visible: the IMF, rating agencies, bondholders, and their demands for austerity or restructuring can paralyze entire nations. Yet, even after a total collapse, the same logic restarts. New loans are issued to replace the old ones. Debts are restructured. The machine simply resets. This is because in the 21st century, sovereign debt isn't actually designed to be repaid. You heard that right. Governments today do not plan to pay off their debt. Not now, not ever. This isn't some secret conspiracy. It's a stated policy. Unlike a personal loan where you have to pay back the principal, governments treat their debt like a rolling subscription. They just issue new bonds to pay off the old ones as they mature, a process called refinancing. The interest payment becomes the real product. It's the rent a country pays for economic stability. The entire global economy now depends on that rent. Like a shark that must keep swimming to survive, the financial system must keep borrowing. The US will never clear its $38 trillion debt. It will refinance it forever. Japan's debt is over 250% of its GDP, yet its government bond yields remain near zero. Investors aren't waiting for repayment. They're just waiting to renew the deal. Why? Because government debt, especially US Treasury bonds, is considered the world's safest collateral. It's not seen as a liability but as a foundational asset. Pension funds hold it for stability, banks use it as security for loans, and central banks treat it almost like cash. If governments suddenly paid off all their debt, the global financial system would lose its core asset, which would likely trigger a massive deflationary spiral and collapse. So when politicians talk about balancing the budget or paying down the debt, they are mostly promoting an illusion. The real goal is not to eliminate debt, but to keep it sustainable, to make sure the interest payments are serviceable and the bonds remain desirable enough that confidence never breaks. But this idea that we owe it to ourselves is only half true. The system isn't neutral. The interest payments flow upward, from taxpayers and workers to the institutions and wealthy investors who hold the debt. In this way, sovereign debt isn't just a transfer between countries. It's a massive transfer of wealth between economic classes. Global inequality and global indebtedness rise together. The system is designed to reward those who own the debt and burden those who pay for it through taxes and inflation. At the very peak of this pyramid, there is no single villain. Not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. It is all of them, and it is also us. The modern financial system has blurred the line between debtor and creditor beyond recognition. Debt, which was once synonymous with bondage, now paradoxically means balance. But that balance rests entirely on trust. And if that trust ever shatters, the grand illusion ends, revealing a promise that could never be kept forever. If you think this is complex, wait until you see who really profits from war. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll reveal what they don't want you to see.